Welcome back to the news review segment of the Power Breakfast Show. Together with me today, like I told you earlier, is a panel of deputy governors. Remember, at the tail end of this show, we'll be asking you, have deputy governors lived up to their mandates? But first, a quick reintroduction for Deputy Governor Titus Lote, West Pokot. Deputy Governor Jonathan Mweke, a regular in this panel. Thank you very much for always being available, Nairobi. And joining us just now, Deputy Governor Kisii County, Joash Mangi.
Thank you.
Before we took the commercial break, you were just trying to explain that the government is not oppressive by asking that the opposition leaders wait on their pension until they retire from politics.
Sure, it is true.
Please go on.
Well, actually, that is the position of retirement. Pension is actually something that is supposed to allow somebody to retire and relax at home, take care of the children and cattle and anything else. So I think the government is right to protect these people until when they want to actually rest. But if they want to become active in politics,
of security,
well, in terms of withdrawal security, 100%, every of these principles still got a security. Probably the number has been reduced because of the fact that we are living in a country where security is required more at the borders than for our own people. It is absurd for me to have 40 security men following me.
How many security officers do you have?
Personally, I got one security person. And I am not of a problem with that because I know Kenyans require security people. But I know...
How many security officers do you have yourself?
May I not disclose that?
For security reasons, obviously. Yes. Thank you very much. Now, we are looking at the NASA headache, and now that you've joined us, the standard says NASA have a headache. They're trying to look at 12 possible options of getting a flag bearer and his running mate. The Daily Nation says the technical team, on page 8 the Daily Nation, the technical team is lining out on the final stretch as they prepare towards this.
First, let me say something about, sorry, I came late. Let me say something about the pension benefits. While over, there are two conditions for getting a pension. Number one, like in America and Europe, once you have reached 65 years of age and when you're not in active employment. So if you're in active employment, then you can't get your pension. Pension is when you're retired and you're no longer in active employment. So if you're going to get paid pension for retiring from politics, then you must retire from politics to get that pension. I mean, let's not play politics about this. The reality is that you're going to get pension, you must retire from what you're doing. Now, on NASA, I've seen the NASA headache. I think they're going to have a big headache because here are 4 men who have convinced themselves that any one of them can lead, or each one of them can lead Kenya. And it's going to be a big problem, convincing others to drop down. I think it's going to be hard.
Jonathan, you said earlier, just for his information, that they don't need any convincing. They're already convinced that only 2 of them can take it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a reality. They say it all the time. But just before we get to that, let me respond to the pension issue. Because, you know, I always say here every Monday, if you don't follow the rule of law, then you have nothing left. And I think this current government, that has been one of their weakest points, not following the rule of law. That's why they have more court cases than any other government in the history of this country.
How so in this regard?
When the president signs bills that are unconstitutional into law, and everybody keeps going to court, and that's been their biggest weakness. Now, there's very clear guidelines against compensation and pension for former vice president, for a former prime minister. Yeah, Honorable Kalonzo is a former vice president. Honorable Raila is a former prime minister. So if there are guidelines on how you should pay or how you should take care of a former prime minister and a former president, then you get an executive order and says, no, they are not going to get their dues. I think that's wrong, and I think that's in disregard of the law. Now, once Honorable Raila and Honorable Kalonzo are back into office, whichever office they'll get, then now they'll cease to enjoy that benefit because now they're in active office. But right now, it's a fact, and there's no Kenyan or any sensible person who can deny that Honorable Kalonzo is a former vice president and Honorable Raila is a former prime minister.
So
they should be given their benefits as per the law, because the law is there. Why are you breaking the law?
Why are you breaking the law? I presume.
Well, I think the law is not broken. Sometimes we need to be very clear in terms of what we're saying. For the president to go to wherever where he starts signing bills, it basically means that these bills have been discussed in the House, composing of every member that has been elected. And so I don't think that all those members that have been elected to come into Parliament can be able to present before the president bills that are unconstitutional. That is the first thing that we need to
But courts have ruled it. I can give you several examples.
And that is the reason why we've got the three arms of government.
Unless you don't have confidence in our judiciary.
No, we do have confidence in our judiciary, but then that is the reason why we've got the three arms of our government.
Now, he has an argument here.
Yes.
From your position, a deputy governor is an authoritative position.
Sure.
There are people who look up to you for decisions on cases like this. From your position, Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka were retiring from the position of Prime Minister and Vice President respectively. The law doesn't say retire from politics. It says retire from an executive position. How do you understand this, Josh and Titus?
You know, on this one I would beg to, I believe in being objective. On this one I would beg to differ with my colleague. Because ideally, the law is if you have retired from active employment. So if you again go back to work, and then you lose the pension. Yes. In fact, you don't lose it. It gets suspended.
So to that extent, you agree with John?
To that extent, I agree with him. Yes.
Titus?
Well, I still do not agree. Because what Mangi said, I think the conditions that are actually there for pension
is age
and retirement.
Retirement from what?
Retirement from...
Does the law say active politics or from your position?
Active position. Yeah, if I'm still deputy governor, I'm not retired. But if I'm not deputy governor, then I'm retired.
So if you
if I'm deputy governor and I'm still actively seeking for this position, because even if you go out there, you actually hear these people still referring themselves as prime minister.
But if you seek and
former
you lose,
prime minister, former vice president.
But if you look for it and you don't get it, nothing changes. You're still former.
Then you become former.
No, you are still former.
But I think basically, to be fair to Jubilee administration, so that we do not say that Jubilee administration is a tyrant administration. Basically, if you look at the way people have managed their retirement benefits, most of them have actually languished in poverty because they cannot manage these retirement benefits properly. I think what Jubilee is trying to do here is to become fair to this principle, to allow them
to enjoy their benefit,
to keep these benefits until when they actually require it. Because as to now,
the genesis of this, gentlemen, the genesis of this, lest we forget, was the headache that NASA has, and Jonathan Mweke, Deputy Governor of Nairobi, just brought it up and said these people are united in one front to make sure that Jubilee is out of power. Josh, that is where the whole debate about the pension and everything else came from. Now, you are telling us that NASA will have a big headache. How so?
Because, you see, the essence of politics to acquire power, to get to the position of power. Now, NASA has four principals who are very keen on becoming president of this country. And none of them is willing to step down for the other. It's very clear that each of them considers himself best, which is no more. Now, what is going to happen when the technical committee, so-called, tells Kalonzo that we don't think you're fit to be the next president? Kalonzo is going to take offense and walk away. And that could easily break NASA. So as far as I'm concerned...
That's what you think would happen, or that's what you know would happen?
Wait and see. It's going to happen.
Because remember, we are coming from a background of deals and consensus in the past.
And most of these deals have been broken. So everybody's very jittery. People are scared. I'm telling you, NASA is on the break.
That's the reality. Everybody is jittery, people are scared.
Well, you know, people have personalities. And it's very difficult to change a personality. If you look at all the personalities of this gentleman, yeah, in 2002, Kalonzo was ready to be president, right? He agreed to take up a position that he had had 10 years before foreign minister because they were so united with one front. KANU must go. And they did it. Raila himself was actually the most popular candidate in 2002. Yeah, he had run for president in 2007, in 1997. Yeah, he was the only one out of all these other people who had ever run for presidency 5 years earlier. He gave up his ambitions and he even said Kibaki Tosha, because they were united in one front.
And that led to the bolting out of one Simeon Nyachai, remember?
Correct.
So what he says is true.
But you see, when Nyachai bolted out, he almost never ever made a comeback into national politics. And that's the price you have to pay, for betraying
what do you mean by saying that he never got back to national politics?
Yeah, did he ever run for president again?
Nyachai is still a very powerful national leader.
Did he ever get into presidential politics?
Being a leader, you don't have to be elected to be a leader.
Here we are talking about, I agree with you on that, but here we are talking about taking power. And Mheshimiwa Mangi, you said it yourself.
Yes.
We're talking about taking power. After 2002, Nyachai never went back to say, I want to be president again.
Active politics, but he's still a national leader.
Yeah. He is a national leader, that I can agree with, and he's a very experienced Mzee that we respect, all of us. But my point here was, even in 2007, when ODM decided that they were going to take Raila, Musalia was also ready for president. What did he say? He said, I'll be your running mate. So these are the same people, guys. They've not changed. But Jonathan, these are the same people in 2017, and here they are saying that, listen, we have a government that has become completely untenable. Let's come together. They've survived together throughout the 4 years or so of opposition. And now, the same guys who have been able to put country first and say Kibaki Tosha are the same guys you are saying are going to board.
Okay, let's hear from Titus, then we'll come to you.
For me, actually, when Mweke says that these are the same people, we need to be cognizant of the fact that age is also catching up with those people. And so decisions are also going to change. They are not going to have the same decisions they did 10 years ago. That is for one. For two, if you remember the last spark of the elections, Kalonzo was promised that once Raila actually been fronted as the president, which he never did, then Raila was supposed to support Kalonzo. And if you actually hear the rumors out there, because also rumors build up into become something. The rumors out there is that the popular candidate, the most preferred candidate so far, I think, is still Raila. And what that leads Kalonzo onto the call on the fact that he was promised. So Kalonzo already, as we speak, knows that he's being cheated for the second time.
But I don't know. Cheated? I mean, I don't know, first of all, where cheated is coming from.
Okay, let's hear from him as a member of, an insider of Wiper and also NASA.
You know,
does Kalonzo feel cheated?
No, he doesn't.
Sure.
He doesn't.
Was he promised to run on the
president? He behaves like he feels cheated.
How does he behave? Because then I'll answer that question even before you substantiate it. Kalonzo was in Kisii last week. Had a press conference. Says he's in NASA to stay. He was in Mombasa yesterday at a rally, voter registration. Says he's in NASA to stay, no matter what. Some time back again when he was in Kwale, he said the same thing. He says whether or not he's the flag bearer, he's in NASA to stay. But he also does believe, like all the other three gentlemen, that he's the best person to lead this. So this is very healthy politics that I think my colleagues are not used to. And about being cheated, what are you being cheated about? Raila doesn't decide who's going to become president. It's the Mwananchi who does that. So why are you looking to one person saying, make me president? That it doesn't happen.
I know this.
The kind of democracy that's being seen in Nyasa. These two Jubilee colleagues of mine
Let me say something to him first.
Are very worried.
Say something to him.
First and foremost, let's avoid this common rhetoric that this government is untenable. What do you mean that this government is not untenable?
We can talk about
the Jubilee government has done its part.
What?
And you can't say that's untenable because you do a wonderful job.
Where the stadium? You know we are about to lose a World Athletics Championship because the stadium was not built. How do you leave the government like that?
Let me come back to that. But let me talk why. You said that Kalonzo, it was in Kisii last week, and they said that he's not living in NASA. Yes, there's no way to say that he's living in NASA, because when I was in Kisii, the reception, I'm a Kisii, I come from there, the reception was very poor. If there were no people, there were no crowds for him to address.
Okay, but did he talk to anybody? Were there 2, 3, 4 people?
2, 3, 4 people on the street.
And
Kisii is fairly...
Who are you fooling?
Kisii is fairly populated. So anybody can stand on the road and talk to people.
Okay, 1 minute. We have to get this clear. So he talks to a few people.
Yes.
Did he tell them he's in NASA to stay?
They said that.
Thank you.
That's what his sport language. His sport language was saying something different.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem.
His sport language was saying
I don't have a problem about Kalonzo speaking in various forums to say that he is in Jubilee, is in NASA to stay. But I got a problem when we now finally come to the home stretch where we're going to get the flag bearer, that is when everything is going to disintegrate. At this particular point, everything is very good because every one of them is hoping that the technical committee is going to appoint them to become the flag bearers. But wait until...
So when the announcement is made?
When the announcement is made, then you are going to see those statements are going to change. Because even already we heard from media sources last week, Kalonzo was starting to insinuate that if it is not him, then probably he can even go alone. And actually even that he said it is also quoted just like he said in the NASA to say. He said, if it means for me to go alone, I will go.
No,
so
he never said that.
No, he said those two statements are
it was on paper. It was not on...
some journalist goes and writes a headline, then you say Kalonzo.
It was on TV.
Him saying it?
Yes.
I don't know which TV you watch.
I think you are seeing selectively.
Mheshimiwa Kalonzo has never, and I want to speak very authoritatively on this one, and I can tell you I'm competent to do that, has never said he's going to go it alone, ever. And if you have any...
Who assess your competence in this particular topic?
Because I am very involved in the inside of the Wiper politics. Now, my party leader. And I know what the strategy is. The strategy is not going alone.
Titus Lote, Deputy Governor West Pokot, and Joash Maangi, Deputy Governor Kisii. Although you were elected under an ODM banner, you crossed over and you're now in Jubilee. Why is Jubilee so much interested in the NASA formations?
Well, I don't think Jubilee is interested in NASA.
They're not?
Jubilee are just watching the unfolding of NASA crashing.
But you're even analyzing it.
Yeah, of course. Why can't you analyze? But that does not mean that you're interested. You're only analyzing people failing. And actually, they're going to fail. Just give the technical committee. In fact, even I believe within the technical committee, there's a lot of disagreement already within the 10 members, the 12 members that are sitting in this.
Is there any flag bearer
you ask a question, why is Jubilee interested in the formation of NASA?
Why are you?
Yes, because NASA is a conglomeration of opposition parties joining hands to oppose Jubilee. So ask Jubilee party members, as Jubilee party leaders, we must look at our opponents. We are simply watching, and there's nothing wrong in making sure that NASA fails. Because, I mean, if you are a politician, you want to acquire power, you must make sure your opponent fails. Because how else can you win if your opponent doesn't lose?
Did you cross over officially, Josh?
Yes, I'm Jubilee.
You crossed over officially?
Yes.
How come you didn't resign? Because that's what the law says.
No. That law is still being interpreted.
No.
The case is in court.
Is the case still in court?
Well, I think it is very clear that we cannot be members of two political parties. You can only be a member of one political party.
And what happens when you're elected under one party?
You are elected under one party. You're supposed to resign to go to another party.
Is the case still in court?
Yeah, well, the case is still there. But one thing that I also need to tell you is that we are now going to... We didn't have Jubilee before. If that law was not in court, I think the president and the deputy president who are not elected on Jubilee are not supposed to be in office. But because the law, the case is still in court, it basically means that they are allowed to form another coalition, they are allowed to form another affiliate, they are allowed to work closely with other parties because the law still protects them. So we are
looking for proper interpretation.
Thank you very much. I think just, and I'm very shocked that Mangi can say that because he's a lawyer.
A very good lawyer.
Okay. And I'm worried about that because you have just misled Kenyans on national TV. Yeah. The Political Parties Act was amended to allow the parties who wanted to join Jubilee to fold and those members not to lose their seats. But in the case of somebody like Mangi, whose party, ODM, did not fold to join Jubilee, he should have resigned. And it's very clear, if you can go and read the Elections Act, and I think it's Article 14, it tells you you are deemed to have been resigned from your position. So what you're doing right now, and you have said Kisii is very populated, what you're doing right now is you're a fraud. You have lied and given the people of Kisii a raw deal. They elected an ODM deputy governor. You have moved to Jubilee, broken the law, and you are still serving them against their wish. You should resign so that your governor can appoint an ODM deputy governor. And that is how you get a country that's functional, a country that's lawful.
Rule of law.
Principle, my friend. Rule of law.
Is your conscience clear?
Let me respond to my brother. You see, it's one thing to speak very strongly and appear to be saying a point, but let's look at the law first and foremost. My submission is that the Political Parties Act, Section 14, is unconstitutional. Because, and that's why we are submitted to court for that interpretation. The Constitution, which is the supreme law of this country, gives you freedom to exercise your freedom of movement, freedom of association, and the practice everywhere is that you can cross over. But in Kenya, that Political Parties Act, which we have submitted courts and constitutional, curtails that freedom. That if you go to Kasarani to see a new party being formed, you are deemed to have defected. Now, what is deeming? What do you mean by deeming? Because now, in law, when you talk about deeming, it means that there must be another body, which would interpret and say that surely you have been deemed. So we have submitted ourselves to court, so the court can interpret and tell us, have we been properly deemed?
Fair enough. Yes. But my question to you, as Joash Maangi,
yes,
Deputy Governor Kisii County, elected under an ODM banner, yes, and now a full-fledged Jubilee member,
yes,
is your conscience clear?
Very clear.
Your conscience
very clear, because I was working with the Jubilee government. I was working with the people of for the people of Kisii County when ODM decided that I should not even shake hands with the Jubilee people, and they threatened to expel me. Now, if you expel me, where do you want me to go? So I joined the party that was welcoming me, meanwhile, pending interpretation by the Supreme Court.
Don't you think you would have resigned so that you seek a clear mandate?
No, then the case would have been non-existent.
So you sit pretty because the law is not clear.
The law protects me, and you know, law is an ass. It depends on who's pulling it.
And you see what the Deputy Governor of Kisii is telling us. But it's okay to not have a stand. And I think I take exception to that, because we are leaders.
I have a stand.
It's okay to not have a stand. That today you can say you are promoting the ideologies of one political party, and then tomorrow you flip-flop completely to the other side and say, no, now I am promoting the ideologies of another political party. That's completely different from the other one. And he's saying, no, it's okay.
I'm defending...
That is not freedom of association.
I am defending
being unprincipled.
No, I'm defending the principles of my people.
How?
I'm defending the interest of my people.
Okay, let's hear from
Mangi. Okay, I don't think Mangi is not being objective here. I think he is objective on the basis that there is an interpretation that is being done in court.
Yes.
And that's the reason why, actually, we need to respect our courts as well. Before they come out with this interpretation, you can still swim along. You cannot say...
You can still enjoy the ride.
Yeah, you can still enjoy the ride until they make an interpretation. Because for the reason why they're not making an interpretation is the basis that they are also studying to ensure that every law is in tandem with their interpretation.
And what in your opinion, what should come first, your conscience or the rule of law? Which is the more supreme of the two?
But I think your conscience will come first.
Your conscience.
Your conscience will come first.
So regardless of the ambiguity of the law?
But my conscience and your conscience might be different. And that's the reason why we've got some law, some organ like the court, which is not supposed to interpret my conscience and your conscience. So I might want to take the directions of my conscience and resign. But the kind of people, the people who elected me, their conscience is not like that. And because I'm not in this seat because I am there by myself. I'm there because of the people who
virtue
me
of
there.
Vote.
And that is the reason why we allow the court to interpret and put together our conscience and make a rule out of it and say, this we think is the best suit position for all of you.
For the benefit of our viewers, which party are you in?
I was elected in Kano party. And up to this particular point, if I was to go on Kano ticket...
You still?
If I was to go on Kano ticket, up to yesterday, I actually had members of the party Kanu in Kisii. They are not giving clear directions as to whether they want to go to NASA or whether they want to be in Jubilee or want to become independent. And that is the reason why I decided not to actually continue swimming in waters that are not very clear. And so I officially said I want to actually support and work with Jubilee government. That's the reason.
So you're now in Jubilee?
I'm now in Jubilee.
We'll be taking a short commercial break.
Just before that,
yes, Joash, I give you 30 seconds.
Yes, I want to say something. You see, the problem with my colleagues in court the leadership in court, including my brother here, they know how to yell and pretend that they are right. You listen to Mecca speaking, you think he's so right because he's yelling and saying,
I do
when
facts.
clearly, when clearly he's not saying the truth.
I'll do
He's
facts.
wrong.
I'll do facts. Do you know why? Do you know why we talk about leadership? Because it's fact. Our party leader, current party leader, Raila Odinga, when he moved from Ford Kenya to NDP in 1996, he resigned, and it was just 1 year.
The Political Parties Act was not there by then.
That's why we're talking about conscience and leadership.
This is what we're saying.
About conscience, leadership, and principle.
Yes, but when you're saying that,
it's
don't yell and pretend that you're saying the truth. When you're not saying the right thing. We are in court. We're waiting for
I'm giving a
interpretation.
good example of what good leadership should be. If your people have elected you on a Ford Kenya ticket and you've decided you don't want to be in Ford Kenya and go somewhere else, when you are campaigning looking for that position, you are told your people Ford Kenya is this, that. If you decide you don't want Ford Kenya anymore, Raila moved to NDP, only 1 year to an election. He didn't wait. He got elected on an NDP ticket, went back and had a by-election.
Then why
he
do we
didn't fear.
why
That
do we have
was
courts?
leadership.
Then why do we have courts?
No,
if we can't listen to courts.
Josh, I want us to take a break, but I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
Between conscience, the same question I asked him, conscience and the rule of law,
Yes.
which one supersedes the other?
First conscience, then you go to the rule of law.
Conscience, then rule of law. So your conscience is clear.
Very clear.
We'll be taking a short commercial break, and we'll be right back after this with the news review. Remember, my panel this morning is Titus Lote, Deputy Governor West Pokot, Jonathan Mweke, Deputy Governor Nairobi, and Joash Maangi, Deputy Governor Kisii County.